The backlash to Pride Month and LGBT activism is officially here, and it's kind of unhinged. We're going to break this down on this solo episode of the podcast, where we're going to discuss a recent viral controversy involving multiple Republican elected officials and some pretty extreme, I think it's fair to say, comments they made about gay people and homosexuality in America. Now, the context here, if you're new to my channel, is that I have been pretty outspoken as somebody who is right of center politically, but also unashamedly, openly gay. I've been pretty outspoken against the LGBT community and mainstream LGBT activism for years, warning that many of the extreme things that they pushed and really aggressively attacked people who disagreed with as well, from biological males in women's sports to unproven and life-altering medical transitioning of children, to silly concepts like non-binary that are just kind of incoherent and nonsensical. All of this and much more was always going to lead to serious backlash. And we're now, I think, American politics often operates like a pendulum swinging back and forth. We're kind of seeing the opposite end of that swing, but maybe, just maybe, we're starting to see things swing back towards the center a little bit. And that's where our controversy of the day comes in, because a pretty far-right, extreme MAGA Republican congressman named Andy Ogles, he went super viral for a tweet he put out a few days ago where he wrote, quote, "Homosexuality has no place in America." He said, "Happy Nuclear Family Month," because of course it's June, which is LGBTQIA Wi-Fi password whatever month, which I'm sick of at this point and have been a critic of for a long time. But at the same time, I'm not going to support this kind of outrageous anti-gay extremism that raises far more questions than it provides any actual answers. So, for example, what is going to be done with those of us homosexuals, if we have no place in America? Are we going to be deported from our own country? Are we going to be imprisoned by the sexuality police? I mean, really, what does that statement even mean? And does he deny that gay people have always existed? Even going back decades and decades and decades in America, there was always at least a place for them, even if they didn't have full rights and equality under the law. So it is almost, I mean, is he talking about criminalizing gay people or gay sex like decades and decades ago was the case? I mean, it really is just a very dystopian and extreme thing to go out there and say. So it got a lot of pushback. Now, I can't say that I was shocked to see it come from this particular congressman because, frankly, I don't think he's a very serious person. He's the same one who described, if you remember the controversy over the Bad Bunny halftime show at the Super Bowl, the controversy was mostly centered on the fact that it was mostly in Spanish, and people were upset about that. But there was like one of all the people dancing and singing, there was like one maybe 2-second shot where two guys were like dancing on each other. Andy Ogles, this congressman, the same one that says homosexuality has no place in America, accused them of broadcasting gay pornography. He really is a very unserious person, or at least his comms people are, who he's chosen to put in charge. And he also introduced, it's funny because he's like clearly not down with homosexuality, yet he's extremely gay for Daddy Trump. He introduced a constitutional amendment to allow a President Trump to run for a third term. He really does suck up to him so much that it really is funny that he's also out there saying how terrible it is for a man to be in love with another man. Well, you seem pretty in love with Daddy Trump, so I will call that out there. But what was a little surprising to me, given the kind of moment we're in our politics where it seems like there is no bottom. Oh my God. There is no low that people won't sink to in our political discourse. You know what, editor? Don't edit that out because that's kind of funny. I was actually surprised and heartened to see pretty widespread pushback to what Andy Ogles wrote on X, and we're going to get into that. But first, I'll just note that, like, the Republican Party is not going to do well for itself. Any elected official, any member of Congress who hopes of not getting destroyed in the midterm elections by going like ultra extremist 1950s social conservatism. People are upset about gas prices and the economy and the cost of living and a bunch of promises they feel were betrayed. Telling them you're going to ban gay people doesn't do anything to help anyone. And most people, even these days, with kind of the pushback to woke and everything, still think that's effing insane. So they really got to get their crap together if they want to avoid a wipeout in the midterms. And this kind of thing is certainly not helping. I mean, when you look at the odds on Kalshi, for our channel partner, of course, about which party will win the U.S. House, the Democrats have an almost 80% chance of winning the House, and the Republican Party is just a 21% chance of maintaining control. And look, the midterms are always very tough for the party that's in power. Usually you see a swing to the other side. But how big a swing? Is it going to be a small swing? Are the Democrats just going to squeak out a bare, thin majority in the House, or is there going to be a blue wave? All of that is still very much up for debate, and I really don't believe that this kind of thing at all helps Republicans with their image when this is plastered everywhere. The Republican congressman says gay people have no place in America. Like, that's just the last possible headline. I mean, it's also evil. Like, it's insane and authoritarian and evil and so much, but it's also just politically stupid. So anyway, those are the odds from our channel partners at Kalshi. If you want to get in on the action and start trading, you can use my code BRADP to get $20 free when you trade $20. But regardless, we'll keep going here. I really appreciated the pushback from Congressman Mike Lawler, who is a moderate Republican from New York. He was, and I don't know the backstory here, but oftentimes when you have Republicans who speak out like this about these issues, there's often someone close to them in their life. Maybe it's a chief of staff, maybe it's a brother or somebody who is gay. And so they're willing to ruffle feathers a little bit and criticize their colleagues on something like this. But I really appreciated Mike Lawler sticking his neck out and saying, he wrote on X, homosexuality exists in America. In fact, Andy, you have family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, and constituents who are gay and lesbian. It doesn't make them less than or somehow unworthy of being an American. What an absolutely idiotic statement to make. And I appreciated that because I imagine that most House Republicans actually agree with Mike Lawler, but just because of partisanship or tribalism or the echo chambers, or they don't want to make the certain factions of the right-wing media upset, they're pretty reticent to go out there and say so, right? So you have to kind of chase them down and force them to condemn a really extremist statement from a member of their own party, which is depressing because they run to the microphones when it's time to denounce a Democratic member of Congress's extreme statement that they make. But then when somebody in their own party, and this goes the other way as well, of course, like every Democrat and their mother leapt at the chance to denounce Andy Ogles for this. But the next time, one of the far left Congress people says something bat insane, they'll, oh, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look into it and get back to you when a reporter asks them about it. It is not surprising. It's kind of just is what it is for politics at this point, but I still find it gross and disgusting. So there's that. And I will play you this clip from TMZ of Senator Ted Cruz. Listen to this when TMZ chased him down and got his take on it. Listen to that.
Andy Ogles, a Republican from Tennessee, he says that homosexuality has no place in America. Agree or disagree?
Well, I think for all of recorded history, homosexuals have been part of humanity. And, I got to say, I'm quite libertarian by nature. I think the behavior of consenting adults is their business.
Yeah. I find it funny when you've lost Ted Cruz, who's a pretty solid social conservative, but even he thinks you're just insane, right, for wanting to get rid of all gay people in America or whatever. Again, it's like, what did he even mean by that? I did request an interview with Congressman Ogles, reached out to his communications staff, and I would love to know. I'd love to know what you meant by that. And what your views are on some of these issues more broadly, but he did not take me up on that. Shocked. This is my shocked face. I'm sure he'll go on Newsmax next week, though, for talk about how bad President Biden was or something. Very relevant and newsworthy. Not that I disagree, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, though, Andy Ogles, the congressman who sparked this whole wildfire and kind of conversation with his tweet, decided to sort of apologize. He deleted the tweet. He put out this statement on X. Earlier today, while working on the farm, my phone began going crazy because of a post made by a member of my comms team. The post was stupid, hurtful, and a complete distraction from my America First focus. The employee has been reprimanded. Some people were happy to see him sort of take it back and sort of do a turnaround. And I do generally appreciate when people apologize, but this also kind of angered me. Because what do you mean you're going to blame a comms staffer for what was posted on your official Congress member account as a public statement? Yeah, they all work for you. They all represent you. The buck stops with you. And it's very lame to me that you would just blame a low-level comms staffer rather than take accountability for it. You shouldn't let people tweet as you unless you are prepared to assume, like, the liability for the things that are said as you. And why are your Congress people just tweeting out edgy troll takes like this, or not your Congress people, your congressional staffers, that you're not even reviewing before they're posted? So then that is on you. And frankly, it's like not out of character with your other past positions and statements and takes. I mean, I'll put this post on the screen, but he previously tweeted, Muslims don't belong in American society. Pluralism is a lie. Pluralism, guys, for context, refers to the idea of a society where people of very different backgrounds and faiths and traditions and lifestyles and cultures all exist in harmony and coexist, even though, obviously having massive differences in their lifestyles and beliefs and values. He apparently thinks that's a lie, does not believe in, and trust me, I'm a critic of much of Islam, but it's like he doesn't really believe in religious freedom if he thinks all members of an entire faith have no place in America. That seems kind of crazy and out of keeping with the First Amendment. But clearly that exact rhetoric of has no place in America is something that he has signed off on or encouraged among his staff, right? Because he's putting people in these positions and encouraging them to make these kinds of inflammatory, incendiary statements. And then, so to do that, and then try to blame a low-level staffer and say, well, he's been reprimanded or they've been reprimanded. I don't know. I find that lame. I would actually rather that you doubled, if this is truly your, because also notice how he never said sorry, and he never said that, gay people do have a place in America. He just said it was a hurtful distraction. So wait, are you just sorry that you publicly said it because you'd rather focus on other things, or do you not mean it? It's kind of a half-hearted or insufficient apology or walk back, in my opinion, at least. But I can't say it's particularly surprising. So like, I would genuinely respect the congressman more if this is what he really believes, if he stood 10 toes down and said, I said what I said. Homosexuality has no place in America. Here's what I meant, and here's what we'll do about it. And then, you know what? I would take him on, and I would attack those ideas vociferously. But this, like, sliminess of, oh, it was hurtful and a distraction, and I've reprimanded my comms staffer. I don't like that. I guess in some sense, it's good that he walked it back and saw the error of his ways on that front, but can't say I'm a fan of the congressman. And I think especially we're seeing this in the polling, right? Support for gay marriage and gay rights is plummeting among Republicans. And I predicted this. We talked about this. And there's a couple forces at play here. One is obviously the excesses of radical left-wing trans and LGBT activism. And then two is the, stoking and very extreme rhetoric of homophobia and anti-gay sentiment online by conservative commentators who like to lean into it for clicks. And because that's their genuine belief, is some of them genuinely do despise gay people or are disgusted by gay people. And all of that's at play. And just because I'm explaining that that's why that happened doesn't mean I think it's okay. Like, I think it's wrong for Republicans who are mortified at the gender transition of children to also turn against gay marriage when those two things are actually not at all joined at the hip. Like, you can very much be against one and support the other. You can be a state like Tennessee, even, where I believe Andy Ogles is from, and have gay marriage because the Supreme Court mandates it, and yet not allow children to medically transition. These two things actually can be balanced, and you don't have to turn against one or the other. So I do think Republicans are wrong to do so, but I can also explain and understand how this happened. That doesn't mean I'm saying it's logical or justified. Anyway, guys, I am a bit bothered, a bit disturbed by kind of the hardcore, extreme, especially online, especially on these social media echo chambers and these spaces like X, surge that we're seeing among Republicans. But I'm hopeful that it won't last and that it's kind of just the pendulum swinging, and that we'll swing somewhere back a little more normal and chill and moderate soon. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. That's just my thoughts on the whole situation. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Hit the like button, and we'll talk again real soon.